Representative Katko, tell us about the conversation with the NYPD.
Well, thanks for having me. And I tell you, I was a federal organized crime prosecutor for 20 years before coming to Congress. And between that time and here in Congress on Homeland Security Committee, I can say unequivocally, I've never seen law enforcement more demoralized and morale at such a low ebb. And it's this defunding the police and what it means to New York City, for example, 500 less detectives to go after crime, 500. And 50% of the people being shot who shot someone are released due to bail reform in New York. And all kinds of things are going on. And I really worry about what's going to happen this summer. It's a powder keg. And they easily estimate another 1,000 people or more in New York City alone will be shot between now and the end of the year. That's frightening.
Yeah, I grew up in Harlem in the 70s, and people cannot understand. We were showing some scenes on the screen that those are daily. Those things will happen daily, 2 or 3 times a day, with a broken, demoralized police force that's afraid to act or that is constrained in some way. And I'm worrying about images we saw last summer where people were pouring water on police officers that were trying to do their job, and they could not retaliate in any way. So what do the police say that they need? I would imagine they need support from leadership more than anything else. I mean, obviously money, but don't they need leadership to step up and say, hey, we need to protect the people that protect us?
Yeah, and I think that's right. And there's a bunch of different dynamics going on. First of all, the resources are strained, so any proactive policing is really under stress, and they're basically just trying to respond to crimes. And they're telling me how many random victims of stray bullets there are from gunshots in New York City alone. And they're saying that they basically feel like, and one of them told me yesterday, they can't remember a law that was passed in recent times that helped keep people safe. All the laws tell us what we cannot do, or add another redundant layer, and it's constraining them to do their job. And if they're constrained to do their job, they're going to be less hesitant to act. People are going to pay the price with less safety. People are terrified even going on the subways in New York City, from what I understand. And ridership is way down because of the violence on the subway.
Yeah. Representative Katko, we're watching the New York City mayoral election, and there's been some massive changes in that. And it seems like when Eric Adams, a former police officer, started to talk about quality of life, law enforcement, and even suggesting that there should be better support for law enforcement, he rocketed to the top of the polls. Could there be a sea change even in a very liberal city like New York, where supporting the police is now something that people realize has to be part of the overall success of a community?
There's no question about it. I think people are starting to understand that, of course there's bad cops, and of course any rational or decent law enforcement officer wants to weed out the bad cops. And if we need some reforms to ensure that happens, they're all for it, and I'm all for it, and I'm helping to work on that. But here's the reality. 97% of gun victims are minorities in New York City, right? And they're in those communities, the very communities that they think they're helping by defunding police, are the ones that are suffering the most. And I think they're starting to realize that, a well-funded police department that's well-trained is far better than what we have right now. And, when I was a prosecutor, we did a lot of community policing, engaging with the community, saying, okay, where are your hot spots? Where are your bad areas? Let's work together to go get them, And we can't do that when you defund police.
Yeah, I love the idea of community policing. Thank you so much, sir. And thanks for your efforts. Everyone really needs that to come to fruition. Meanwhile, the big question is, when will Vice President Kamala Harris